Welcome, welcome, welcome to
Hey,
Conversations with My Cuz. I am Shayla Shay.
and it's me, your girl Michelle with one L.
And I'm Brother Love, the man of love, DJ Big Rob.
Well, all right. The man to love. He did something new this week.
Yes, happy Sunday, guys.
I love. What's up, ladies? How was your weekend?
Everything is everything.
The sun is shining. I will not complain. All is well with the
Absolutely
world.
not.
How
Absolutely
about
not.
you?
Oh man, I can't complain. I did a special barbecue 20th anniversary. This family was just an amazing family. These guys took like 2 hours to say how great. You know how you go to a function and they like, oh well, the wife, oh yeah, to the wife or to the husband. It was to both of them, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like it had to
Oh,
be at least
nice.
40 people, and they were talking about how their marriage set the tone on them wanting to get
Wow.
married and have more productive relationships.
Wow.
I've never seen so many grown men cry in one location.
Wow.
It was like that. And I'm like, I can't keep nobody 20
Wait
minutes.
a
I'm
minute.
trying
Wait a
to
minute.
figure this out.
Were they showing emotion?
Yeah, yeah. You know, but
Oh, look
you get
at
caught up in the moment. Yeah, we're gonna talk about emotions later. But but
that.
yeah,
I'm
Emotional
saying.
men.
Not
it was
emotional men.
it was amazing. And it was the second marriage for the both of them. So
Wow.
they have outside children, and then they have one together. But I can't get into the story because we don't have time. But yo,
Right.
I was sitting there like, damn, I was a little worried out myself. Like, these people are fabulous.
I
Very
love
nice.
that. I love hearing stories
I
like
had
that because, man, black love is everything. You know what I mean? Especially when you can find somebody that you've been with for 20 years.
20 years. It's 20 years. They
And
met. They met 30 years ago, and he was in player mode, and she couldn't take it. And
okay.
then they reconnect. They had different families, other marriages, and those
Mm.
marriages didn't work. Then they came back and reconnected. But it was really, really a great story. And shout out to Van and his family and stuff. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed myself.
Very nice.
Love it. Love it.
That's
I love
that's
that.
something to toast to, I think.
Yeah, it is. It
Absolutely.
is.
Right?
Yeah.
You're gonna be
Because
my DJ at my 20-year anniversary whenever
y'all
that
won't get
happens.
y'all don't want to get married now. Y'all want to get
You're gonna
married.
be 70 years old
Well.
on the turntables, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, but yeah,
Longevity in your career.
Absolutely.
Van and his family,
I'll pull
20
him out of
years.
retirement.
That's right.
Shout out to 20 years.
20 years of marriage.
Love it.
Mm. I don't need another sip. I was at brunch all day today, so
Oh, you was
I'm
Oh,
brunching.
recovering.
somebody might be emotional today.
Yes.
Like it might have been
So what
you.
else is going on? What's trending these days, DJ? That's your thing.
Well, we're gonna have to talk about what went down in Detroit. All of America knows it. Monique and DL Hughley.
Mm. Okay.
Evidently, it was a dispute over who was going to go on stage last, first to last, who was the closer, who was the headliner. Monique did not like what happened, and she made it really, really personal. She made it really, really, really personal. So
Okay.
I'm wondering, ladies, how do y'all feel about the situation? Let's go there first.
Huh.
I got something to say. I got,
I got something to say. I'm just putting on y'all.
I got something to say. Now, my thing is this. I mean, just to be brief, I do feel like, okay, Monique, she kind of went too far with whatever her issues were with the contract and so forth and so on. She had every right to feel the way she feels, especially if her contract says one thing and that's not what's being honored. So if you're mad at that, take that up with the promoters. Her attack on DL clearly was personal from what
Right.
we understand. And then they
Agree.
just kept, and to see them both going back and forth was disheartening and it was a little sad to me. But then it was like, but for her, considering that she is known to be a problem in the industry, it just kind of took it over the top. And for her, it probably is going to be damaging.
Right, because you get tired of somebody whose work ethic is stressful for everybody else around them, right? That it's always a problem, you always complaining. And not to say that there's no foundation in what she's complaining about as far as fair wages for women,
Right.
etc. That's absolutely. but it's also this undercurrent of every time somebody works with her, there's a problem. She has a problem. So we get to this type of situation, what should have been a comedy show, right? That she should have beefed with the promoters about, is about DL Hughley and her personal beef with him and whatever negative feelings she has overall. She's using that platform to rehash everything all over again. And that's a problem to me.
Right.
Like, they finally gave her the floor and immediately she's right back where she came from, like, this is, y'all doing it to me again.
Right.
So that's my issue with it, more so than anything else.
Yeah. Okay, I'm in total agreement with Monique, and I'm gonna tell you why.
You in agreement with her in what way?
In what way?
I'm in agreement on how she feels.
Okay.
I also believe that pressure bust pipes.
I am agreeing with how she feels as well.
From being in the industry and understanding what somebody can be a problem and this, that, what people really, really say a lot of the times is people become a problem when problems emerge. I'm not going to get too much into my DJ career, but a lot of the times is I came up quick and it's problems. I've been, he's hard to work with. No, I just don't take certain things. You're not going to just run over me. You understand what I'm saying? And if you're going to feel like you have to run over me to book me or to do certain things, I will create my own event and make it happen instead of fight with you about whatever the money is and this, that, and other. So if I'm a problem that way, then I'll be that problem. The issue with Monique is she did rise quick. She, she's very talented. Her resume is outstanding. And, her resume hangs with probably 90% of the men that are in her same field. But when she demands a certain amount of money or she wants to do certain things, she doesn't get that support from the other black men in Hollywood. In exchange, it feels like you're being attacked. I feel like I'm being attacked sometimes when I'm playing with other DJs in the building and I look at the bill, I'd be like, here we go again. Tomorrow night, Rod did something. And it wasn't nothing. It's just because I'm not tolerant. If you say that I go on at 1 o'clock, I want to go on and I want to get in and I want to get out. If it changes, just let me know and let me have a conversation. So I don't agree with how she handled it, but she had a personal with DL Hughley. She came there to me to have that comedy set. I think the contract issue just made it a lot worse because in her interview on YouTube, she said it. She haven't seen DL Hughley in years. So she addressed the issue when they was performing together. So I do, like I said, I understand. I agree with how she feels. Maybe she didn't have to go about it like that, but beef is beef sometimes, whatever.
So it sounds to me like you agree with her because you also feel personal about it because of things that happened in your life.
Right, I can relate to it.
Relate to what she's saying. I think in this situation, though, even with the contract, it wasn't about money. It was really about who went first. And so there wasn't any unsupport from DL in that way. He just believed that he was the headliner. So the real issue, right, had nothing to do with him per se, except that she had a personal beef. So whether or not that contract situation would have happened, the fact that it looked and appeared to be pre-written, she had every intentions on doing that, whether or not he said or did anything. She just used the contract as a way for her to have an open door about it. And that to me is a problem because it means you are a shit starter, right? In a situation absolutely. That didn't merit it, right? Agreed. Because if you have a beef with him, you could take that beef elsewhere. You don't use that platform because y'all are here to entertain and perform, not for you to take down your counterpart who's co-hosting with you.
But you also got to think about this. Due to time, and we're not going to be able to stay on this. But we also have to think about what did he put out on his platform, the things that he was saying about her. I didn't want to get into about the interview and stuff on the radio station. He used his platform in a negative way as well. So
Yeah, but
beef, is beef,
that's not
and
the
it's
same thing,
whatever
though. I
it
don't
is.
think. Yeah,
It's
I
not
don't
the
feel like that's
same
the
thing.
same. It's not the same
Right. Okay.
because he wasn't on a show with her when he did all that. Whatever he did, I'm not saying that it was right, but she also has the same platform. She could have done it at another time before that.
Correct.
She could have
Right.
addressed it then. She has Facebook as she uses quite often to voice her opinion and her concerns about things. She waited until she was standing in front of people who paid to see her do comedy to talk about this man when she could have done it at any other time.
But right quick though, that it was part of her comedy performance. So it was funny.
Well,
The crowd reaction was great from what
I
I seen.
wasn't there.
You
I
understand
wasn't
what I'm
there,
saying?
so I can't say
Everybody
what
had
the
their
reaction
camera
was.
up, and I believe, like I said before,
Wasn't there,
she wrote it.
and neither were
She
you.
wrote it and she did it. And to me, it was part of her act. So if somebody could get on stage and talk about Donald Trump and this, that, and the other, she got on stage and she talked about D.L. Hughley. But it was in her act. It was definitely in her act. That was pre-written.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I
So we
think
agree,
it
disagree. I love
is
you, girl.
We're
time.
gonna put a pin in that because
Yeah,
this kind
that's
of is what it
fine.
is.
We
Let's put
all
a
we
pin in
all
it.
have our ways of viewing it differently but the same. Anyway, just a quick shout out to the chat, right? I see my girl Trey is in the chat. I see her. I see Jerome in the
Hey, what's
chat.
up,
D
y'all?
Huff. So
Hey, hey,
shout out to the
hey.
chat. I also want to take a point to say, if watch us on our YouTube channel, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Twitch, Spotify, Blue Rain Radio, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. So, like and share, my friends, like and share. And with
Come
that
on.
plug,
Come on.
guess what time it is?
Oh,
What
man.
time is it? What
It
time is
is time for Let Me Ask My Cuz.
Let me ask my cousin.
Yeah. Conversation with my cousin, DJ Big Rock, Shayla. Hey, we
Hey,
here.
go,
Hey,
yo, go.
hey,
Hey, to the
I won't
cousins,
stop.
yo. Ooh, hey.
All right.
All right, all right.
Hey.
We're not
All
doing this
right,
next season,
family.
y'all. We're coming up with something better than this.
We're going to record you. I think that's the only thing
Why I
that we
gotta be
should
recorded?
do.
We're gonna get somebody
But
to sing it for
what
real.
was, but what
You
was
are
wrong with
in.
that extra note you threw? Like what you heard, a Beyonce record?
Yeah, I was trying to do my little, y'all told me I
We
can't
trying to
bang on
switch
it.
it up.
I can't bang on the table no more. So I was
That's
trying to
right.
hit
We
the
don't
beat,
like your beats.
Y'all wasn't feeling my beat, so I had to do something else, to jazz it up a bit.
Well, I got a
Haters.
question for you guys.
Go
It's a
ahead. I
little
got
bit of a
something to say.
serious thing. Like, it might take a little bit of, thought process about it. What does it take to create an extraordinary life?
Mm, mm. I'll let y'all handle it. Let me hear what
Well,
y'all.
for me, when I think of an extraordinary life, it's always about first self-care, first and foremost for me.
Okay.
Um, when you think of something extraordinary, it's out of the ordinary. So that to me means that you really, really, really need to find out what your dreams are and your goals
Mm-hmm.
are, and really go hard and chase them. Um, um, I think removing all negativity, because you can't have an extraordinary life if it's bogged down with a bunch of negativity surrounding
Okay.
you and people.
I don't know about all, right?
I mean, you can't really remove all negativity because you're going to be in so many different rooms that you can't control people. You can only control yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, this question requires a little bit of thought.
It
So
does.
this
I
is at
see
the
in the
top of my
chat,
head.
Trey, she mentions a few things: money, time,
Yes,
talent, right? I see determination, discipline, focus.
discipline is super important.
I think another word that comes to mind when I think about an extraordinary life is intentional, right? That the things
Mm,
that you desire, right? Not necessarily that it's going to bring happiness, but if you're intentional about achieving those things, you're intentional about bringing peace into your life and removing people that, are stealing your joy. If that's where it is, if it's about just being able to lay down at night and have peace, then being intentional about the people that you allow in your circle.
right.
So That was one of the things that jumped out to me. It says, in my experience, someone in the chat, right, Jerome, in my experience, negativity is a part of success.
It's gonna happen. I mean, everybody's not gonna be happy for you. You know, it's gonna always
I
be some
agree.
sort of negativity you're gonna experience. I agree with that. I
Hmm.
mean,
I
like
definitely
I
agree.
said, you can only control yourself. You can't control other people. So what they do can only
Is it
affect
money? Do
you
you think
if you
it's
allow
money
it.
first,
But
money, and then other things?
I think we left one out. What about self-control?
Yeah, definitely.
You
Okay.
understand what
I
I'm
don't
saying?
think money first. I think first discipline. Discipline to me, I feel like is first
Okay.
because without it, you can't create anything.
Hmm.
It's going to be difficult to create a life that you want without discipline. Because without discipline, you're all over the place.
Okay. What do
So,
you
Right.
think, Ron?
Like I said, I just believe it's self-control, and I believe it's peace. Peace is first to me. Like I said,
okay,
it
But
took me
it's
50 years.
achieving peace. What do you need in your life to achieve peace?
right.
Right?
Oh
Because that's
no,
part of your extraordinary life. How do you get peace in your life?
right. It's basically self-control and really working with the negativity, embracing negativity. That's the thing, because you're never going to be. People say you could keep the negativity away, get the negativity away. It's always going to be there. Embrace it and understand it, and then you have to know it,
Yeah.
like I said, and then you have to really have the control to deal with it, and that's what it
Okay.
is. Because if you have so much negativity around you, that does, like Jerome said, it does equate to success.
Mm.
Because if you wasn't where you was at in life, that negative energy wouldn't come to you anyway. So that's
My
why self
Hmm.
control is one of the biggest things to me, and it took me a long time to get there too.
my extraordinary life would be to travel the world.
Mm, I do that
Okay.
now. Saying
I
international.
mean, I mean, just be like, don't come home because I live all over the world.
God,
Always have an opportunity to, to me, that's extraordinary.
That
That
means
would
you're
be my
creating a
thing.
life that you don't have to worry. You could just go and whenever you want to go.
Right. So money would definitely not be a problem in my
Hmm.
extraordinary life, right? I would have enough that it's never an issue.
hold on, y'all. Hey, Kim. Hey.
Anybody that agrees.
Wow.
Hey, Kim.
Wow. How you doing? Good guys.
So
Yeah, I
in
guess
your extraordinary life, if
crazy.
there's not peace, what else would you find in your extraordinary life?
Extraordinary life.
You know, if I could music all the time, if I could do nothing but music,
Okay.
that would just be great to me. That would be the best thing in the world for me.
Okay.
Well, if I
And in
had to
order
think
to do
about it,
that, right,
go
you'd
ahead. Go ahead. I'm
have to
sorry.
make enough money that pays all your bills.
Here she go with the damn money again.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta.
Well, for
The
her,
only
money
reason
is
why, well, no, the only reason why he's not doing music every day of his life is because he has to have a job that pays the bills. So, in order to
this is true.
eliminate that, you would need the music to pay all your bills. Then you could do it every day, all
No,
your
no, I
life.
don't mean. Hold up, you got me mixed up. I'm not saying going out to DJ and work for the money on music. I mean just music, just in my mind, in my brain.
Ah,
You had
okay.
Bobby Brown said in the interview when he was a kid, he just had to shake his head because it was just all this stuff going on. It was music. That's
Uh
how I
huh.
be feeling
Yeah.
sometimes.
So
I
I
Okay.
be
guess if
feeling.
y'all want to touch on that really quick, for me, it would be just writing, not having to worry about anything else, just writing and getting books out, putting books out,
I
books
would
out, books
also
out.
have a personal chef in my extraordinary life.
You can
that
have
that
that
And
now.
somebody to clean my
I
house
can
in
have
my
that now.
extraordinary life. I could. I
You can
that
have
could.
will
that now.
require money. That takes money
I know.
So for you,
I
money would
know.
be at the top of the list, but
for
you
sure.
know
Well,
that
it
somebody
would
would just
be
have
a
to pour that
means
money.
to me creating my extraordinary life, right? Because if I had it, it'd be all these extraordinary things going around. I'd get
That's
somebody that
true.
would plan all of my travel. They would just tell me when I gotta go to the airport and where I'm gonna wind up. And they would set up all my tour guides, all my meals. I would just have to be there. And say things like, I don't want anchovies. I want that life.
But
you
but
know?
being that it's funny that being that you mentioned travel, I just really wanted to put this out there to a lot of people, even in our age group. Get out and get around. Get out and travel because when we
Oh,
get a certain age, we're not going to be able to do it no more. I watched my mom travel years. Glow done been to every continent it could be. And just to see now how difficult it is from her to get from point A to point B and how she feels, please, everybody get out and travel and see what you
when you're
can
young. Yeah,
because
support
it's so
support
much
Agreed.
what you
harder.
can.
It's harder running through the airports, catching flights. It's fun now,
That's
but
true.
at an old age, I see them wheelchairs lining. I'd be so damn mad at them wheelchairs. Be 20
I used
minutes
to,
on the
you rude, say them
plane.
and the strollers first, right?
And they be lying. Get your
I'm gonna get my ass in the chair if it's gonna get me on a flight first. Don't play with me.
Exactly. Get
You know,
you
I
a
go to
scooter. Get you a
extremes
little scooter. Shoe.
for my
yo.
extraordinary
I was,
life.
I was flying to Atlanta. It was like 30 chairs. I'm like, if you don't get your asses out, I just
You need
see
to
you partying in the parking lot.
you need to walk into that airport bent over and see if they don't help you out. Oh, till they come with the chair.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But
Exactly.
travel is very important.
It is.
Well, all right. Anything else for your extraordinary life show
I got nothing
before we
else.
move on? All right.
Well,
I
we
got
on
nothing
TV.
else.
I can't tell y'all the other things. We got
No,
to
we
talk about
don't because we don't. I don't even want to hear it off
if y'all
TV.
want to hear it,
Okay.
I'll definitely
No,
tell
we
you.
don't.
Hear
We
enough.
don't. We really don't.
Hear enough.
Wait,
Help me,
you and your
Jesus.
little pinky adventures.
Ooh,
Shout
pink
out to people.
salami.
They're gonna say, "What is pink salami?"
They don't want to know. They don't want to know.
Okay. Let's talk about, we have a main topic and we have a wonderful, wonderful guest. And I want to read a
Yes.
little bit of her bio because the bio is ridiculously long because she has had this long career from being a teenager, right? And we all had the pleasure of knowing her from very, very young. Kind of like we could be like, I remember when she was in the talent show in
Yeah.
in junior high. Like I could go that far, right?
Exactly.
So, but this is Kia Baby Doll Jeffries, right? And as I mentioned, her music career started very young. She was in her early teens in Queens. Um, just always driven, always had a beautiful voice, in my opinion.
Yeah, I remember when she was
It
on the
gave
Apollo.
her,
Yeah, I remember
yes,
she was on the
yes.
Apollo.
So it gave her the ability to do a lot of wonderful things. She traveled. She's had this wonderful relationship with a lot of people in the industry. I can't even read it all to be able to give it to you. However, some of the things that she did in her ability of hustling and networking is that she created this female group called Forecast when she was, earlier in her career, and she's had the pleasure of writing and singing and producing for film and TV and touring the world, as we mentioned in the extraordinary life, right? So she's been with a lot of internationally known music makers as well. To date, she is probably best known for singing the hook and verse in Akinelli's hip hop anthem "Put It in Your Mouth."
Put it in
That's my
Um,
favorite
your-
reggae, right?
Okay,
yes,
we ain't doing that,
and
y'all.
there's nobody that doesn't know that hook. Okay, so even in being like, so who's gonna be on the show? I was like, well, I'm a girl, Kia, this and that. And they like, huh? And I was like, yeah, she did put it in your mouth. I was like, oh,
Oh.
so they got that whole thing. Okay, yes, now they know who she is. So, but what brings her to us is really a new organization that she's been a part of, which is called Whole Life Healing. And we're going to let her tell a little bit more about that. But unfortunately, that relationship has a lot to do with a tragedy that happened in her life later on. And she's here to actually share some of that. And that really is what our topic is about. Um, and it's really about mental health awareness and anti domestic violence. which is what she terms herself, an activist for those. And that's what whole life healing is about. So without further ado, go ahead, Shell, do some drums. Kia Jeffries, aka
Kia,
Baby Doll.
What's
Hey,
up?
hey
sis.
Kia,
Hey, everybody. How are
welcome,
y'all?
welcome.
You like how I condensed your bio?
Yes, you have to. I was like, you said send a short bio. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to create one of those. It's
I
Whole
created it
Life
myself.
Healing Center.
Yes,
Whole Life
that's what
Healing
I
Center.
want you to tell us about. Tell us
Yes,
about
Whole Life
Whole Life
Healing
Healing
Center.
Center
Yes,
and
Whole Life
how
Healing.
you got to be in that relationship with them and where that whole thing started from.
So, it's still a new thing. I've only known the founder for 2 weeks.
Oh
Okay.
I
wow.
met her last Monday, so it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow, actually, of me knowing her, and we just connected. She's a young lady from Buffalo, New York. She is a domestic violence survivor. She had to move into a shelter with her 5 children to get away from her abuser, and while she was in the shelter about a year ago, she said the Lord gave her this idea to do a not for profit to help people transition out of shelters and into some type of home, help them getting jobs, help them, and not just for domestic violence survivors, but also people that are homeless, for other reasons being in shelters. She
Mm-hmm.
also, she helps feed and give necessity items to people that are in college,
Okay.
people are out here on the streets. And she's just a really hard worker. Like I said, we just clicked. We just had a really good
Mm-hmm.
energy, good vibe. When I met her, she was promoting a not a fundraiser, which is like it was a fashion show,
Okay.
and the fashion show was actually yesterday, and it was really really great. And I helped her over these last 2 weeks with the rest of her team. Shout out to all of the members of Whole Life Healing Center, and it was blessed. It was so, I didn't even know it was gonna be what it was, because like I said, I just met her and I just
Okay.
was following what the Lord was telling me as well, to
Okay.
get
Mm-hmm.
involved. So it's something I've been wanting to do, get a not for profit together for domestic violence awareness. And she's already done it. She was so powerful when she was in the shelter. This is a college grad woman that was working at a $100,000 a year paying job in
Wow.
HR, human resources, and she
Mm-hmm.
gave all that up. When she moved into the shelter, she said you have to give up everything. She said she didn't even have a
That to
phone.
me, right. That I
Yeah,
think
she didn't
that's
have a
one of the
cell.
hardest things is knowing that you really have to like cut the life that you have
Yeah,
and start from zero and recreate a life because another human being has created,
decided that they want to.
yeah,
They want
Yeah,
to
take it away
control.
from you.
Yeah, they want to.
yeah.
Yeah, take full control. Yeah, that's so
Yeah,
true.
she's a big tall lady. She's like 6'2". So she ain't no, she ain't no punk. It wasn't
Right.
for her. It wasn't so much physical abuse. It was more mental and
Mm-hmm.
trying to torture her in the home. She mentioned like her husband tried to set her on fire. She
Wow.
mentioned that the man busting out car windows and slashing tires so she couldn't work, hiding her wallet, her credit cards, different things, so it's all different levels of this
Yes.
domestic violence. So that's why even men are victims as well. Of course it affects everybody, from the children
This
to the
Johnny
grand.
Depp, you think about that whole thing going on with him and
Isn't
her
it crazy?
slandering his name
I
and
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
and all that
and just the
part.
manipulation of trying
Yeah,
to control the narrative of another human being, right?
exactly.
You start out, like you said, with her with the mental abuse. And when that doesn't work, it often turns to physical because they still have to find a way to control.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Before
there
you
are a
know
lot
it.
of women or people who don't even realize that they're in an abusive relationship because they think that it's about the physical. So if they're
Hmm.
not being hit, they don't feel like, well, I'm not being abused because they're not putting their hands on me. So, there needs to be a lot of awareness to domestic violence to know that you're in a domestic violence situation. So, organizations like this are dope, and I'm glad that you're a part of it because it's about alignment. So it clearly seems that you are totally aligned because within 2 weeks, I think that's pretty dope. But I do want
Yeah,
to I know that you're a survivor as well.
yeah.
So a lot of people may not know that or may not know that story. If you want to share that story with us.
Yeah, I was a speaker yesterday at the event as well. It was a fashion show, and we actually, the models were survivors that were modeling. So it was
That's
great to
dope.
Wow.
have people.
That's
Let's
dope.
go.
We had hair and makeup and nail techs and people that donated the clothing, these gowns and different clothes for these ladies and gentlemen to wear and feel special, and looking great and feeling great. So I did speak and share my story. Yes, I was married to a pro boxer from Brooklyn, New York, which is my son's father. That was my husband, and he we went through different levels. You guys, y'all know me. So,
Hmm.
y'all probably saw us together. You know what I mean? At some point, because we lived in Left Rack together in my mom's apartment when she moved out, got grandfathered into the apartment. You know how that goes. So
Sure
we were
do.
out there. I called us Bonnie and Clyde for a long time. We were really doing well and working together. I did not know that he was certified bipolar schizophrenic. I did not find that out until after he died. So over the years, things just switched. I guess he wasn't as active boxing, because he, went from being a champion boxer, pro boxer, and then he kind of got out of it and he kind of let his body go. And, I was doing my thing. And I guess, somewhat of jealousy, somewhat of, wanting to control me.
Right.
Um, we used to get
Not have
married.
you get so big that you leave, right? Because he's
Right.
Well,
not.
some of it, or him more wanting to control it. Because y'all remember when I had the G Wagon and all of that? I didn't get that off money I made from the music industry. Me and him, we hustled and got that. You know what I'm saying? Doing our own little licks and stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
I think I was maturing a different way. People
Hmm.
as we get older, we don't always go down the same path. So when I say this, that's why I think it's all about accountability, right? So we were getting
Right.
money together, and when I kind of outgrew those type of things, and I was saying, let's just, invest our money in legit things and whatever, stop it. I kind of say that threw him off. He didn't want to stop getting it that way, and I guess he thought
Hmm.
he was going to force me to keep doing those type of things, and I wasn't with it. So I decided that I was done. Even though we lived separately a lot, we were still married. We were still, go see each other, or whatever. But we were living in different cities when I told him that I was done. And that started 6 years of stalking by him. And there was most of it, a lot of it was verbal abuse. Him telling me he would kill me, him telling me he'll kill my family. You can't leave me. So the man would pop up. I lived in St. Louis the first time he ever put hands on me. And he popped up, broke into the house, and was hiding under my bed. And I was on
Wow.
the phone, and he just
Wow.
popped out from under the bed and started beating on me. Just beat me in my face. And him being a boxer, those blows are
Right.
calculated. I'm 5'2". He was 6'4". So
Mm.
um, you know, it was crazy. And from then, I was like, well, I'm done. I can't even like try to talk to you. And 6 years later, I was in Atlanta, and honestly, just trying to get on with my life. And, he just would not stop with the trying to control me. I did want him in my son's life. I only have one
Right.
child. So I was
Right.
trying to see if we could co-parent, but it wasn't going to happen. And when we were in Atlanta, that day we were actually at a hotel, and there was a gun involved, and we were kind of fighting over the gun, and I managed to get a hold of it, and he got shot in the shoulder. He did, and when he got shot in the shoulder, instead of sitting down and let the ambulance come, he gets the gun and starts beating me in my head and face with the gun. So the bullet went to his heart, and he bled out in the ambulance, and that's literally how he died. So, I talk a lot about how us in the Black and Brown community, we tend to judge each other, and
Yeah.
Hmm.
not find out facts. When you Google me, it says '90s singer kills boxer.
Yes.
And
Right,
I,
right.
I take a big issue with that because I didn't kill him. I
Okay.
did not want him dead. I wasn't trying to kill him. I was definitely trying to protect myself from being killed. Um, so it's very hurtful.
Do you think
Of
that he was
course.
trying to kill you that day?
I know he was. I know he was. They had to sew me back up. They had to sew my head back up. I still have where the staples and stitches were in my face.
Hmm.
By the grace of God, I didn't have to have plastic surgery, which we definitely were looking into that, because for about 2 years, at least 2 years, I was still bearing all of the scars from it. And I still feel like I have like dark circles under my eyes because of it. But,
I
I have
just
a
got
blessed.
mine naturally.
Yeah, you,
I'm not getting no sleep.
My dark circles come from age, honey.
Of course,
yeah.
of course.
It's funny. Like when I had asked you about the show, I've never had this conversation, and I know that when I got the phone, when I found out what happened, I know I reached out to you. You said you was okay, and I left it at that. And I never really asked you any questions about it until I saw your
Right.
post. But from knowing you and from knowing your ex, it's like I would have never ever dreamed or imagined or seeing that even coming. Is there anything that you would tell people, like how can you, is there a way you could see it coming before it actually happens? Should you take action before the physical abuse even starts? Because from us, you, like you said, you guys were Bonnie and Clyde, so I never even, it was shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, there were definitely signs, like I said, this was 6 years. And I probably should have stayed away even more, because that day that he died, I chose to try to talk to him, communicate with him
Hmm.
when it was moot. I should have just, stayed away. You know, there's so
Does
many
your
things
son play a part in that decision? Because
for
I know
me
you
to.
said you were trying to co-parent.
I was. I've always known friends and family, and they weren't able to co-parent with the man, because of different reasons. And I just never wanted that for my son. I
Right.
wanted him to know his dad. He didn't have, my dad lives far, so my son doesn't have a whole bunch of male role models or men around. Um, his grandfather is dead on Ernest's side. He was already passed, and you
Right.
know, him and his mom went through their own domestic violence stuff, right? So he
Mm.
died violently. Also, Ernest's dad. So I was just hoping to not have this be a generational thing and a repeat thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was. I can say, ladies, unfortunately, we have to live in the truth of what's really going on, and maybe not try to say, oh, it'll be all right. Oh, I could change him. Oh, you know, he'll stop. Or even if he says, okay, I won't do it again, and then he hits you again, and then I won't do it again, then hits you again. I learned from Mia. Mia Miranda is the director of Whole Life Healing Center. I learned from her that most victims go back at least 9 times, up to 9 times.
Wow.
That's
Nine.
that is
And this is
crazy.
Hmm.
from people getting their, face broken, arm broken, going in the hospital, all type of things, and they go back. You know, um, so all I can say is we have to view, if a person says they want to kill you, um, domestic violence, physical abuse, like somebody is really trying to kill you, as if like
Absolutely.
you were like playing on the highway or fell onto train tracks or any other lethal behavior,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Absolutely.
because it's all mental. So we have to look at it like that and act accordingly. And I
And
That's
then it
right.
requires you to, and
not
that's the part I
act
think that
accordingly.
people struggle with is stopping your entire life, right? And being in a place where you could pretty much hide, right? So Kia, for you, you are in the industry, so it's not
Right.
like you're just going to be able to disappear, but
I
it
tried to.
requires that to some degree.
I did. I tried to. So that year, when I moved to Atlanta, um, it was me trying to just move on, leave him alone, and you know, just hope that he would just calm down, get with another
Yeah.
chick. Like he had other chicks, but he still kind of wanted me available. And
That
Hmm.
control.
even though he would tell these women like, "Oh yeah, we're getting a divorce, we're separated," but he still wanted me to come get up with him. When we were getting money together, there was a time that I didn't want to live with him anymore, but to keep the money flowing, I would go see him, and I'm telling on myself. I would go see him and have sex with him just so that he would keep paying the bills, and then I would just go on back to my life, and he would go back to the chick he was with or whatever. We did that for a year or two. I lived in
Hmm.
St. Louis, and he was living in um, Memphis, Tennessee area, and I just, the day that I woke up was I went to visit my son. My son was staying with him at the time in Memphis with this other woman. And I went to visit my son, and I'm legally married to this man. And I'm sleeping in the guest room, like in my son's room. And he's in the master bedroom suite with this other woman. And
Mm.
I couldn't sleep. And I was like,
Wow.
bitch, who the hell is this? Like, who are you? Like,
Yeah, it's something
that's
wrong
how I
here.
had to
It's
talk to myself. I was like, you are Kia motherfucking Jeffries. Like, what are we
that's
doing?
right. That's right.
What are we doing? No, ma'am. And when I went back to St. Louis, I said, you know what? Game over. It's not worth it. And that's when I let them take back the G wagon. I moved out of the apartment in St. Louis. Me and him went through the thing because when I left, I said to him like, listen, I'm done. I said, we can try to work on our relationship if you're willing to leave these women alone, stop chasing money like this, because all these chicks had money, power, different
Hmm.
scenarios. So I
Right.
said, we've gotten money together before. Money is not my God. I'm not gonna keep living like this. I said, so if you are interested in us trying to, be together without these other people and everything, we could rock. If not, you know, go ahead with your life. We could co-parent, and that would be fine. And that was unacceptable for him. And that's where
Did you
things.
ever, so you never went into a shelter or anything of
No.
that nature?
So when I left St. Louis, I moved. My mom was living in Hampton, Virginia, at the time, and I just, I felt embarrassed, honestly,
Hmm.
and I really didn't want to go live with my mother. Um,
Hmm.
so I avoided that. I went and lived with a good friend of mine, Nikki Turner, the book writer. She lives
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
Richmond, Virginia. She wrote that "Not Riding Dirty on I-95," and
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
she wrote a book with 50 Cent. She's a
Yeah, I
good
know the book.
friend.
Hmm.
Took me and my son in, and she was living in Richmond. And we stayed with her for a while, and eventually, though, I did end up going with my mom and just sucking it up and humbling myself and knowing, like, listen, who else are you gonna go with? You know what I mean? Who
That's
else
what
is gonna
moms
Right.
are
take
there
Right.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Right.
know, our parents are here. God bless her. That even after Ernest died, she moved to Atlanta. She gave up her life in Virginia and moved to Atlanta to help me with him. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
What would
There's
we
a
yeah.
do
there's
without
a
our
comment.
mamas?
Yeah, there's a comment in the chat that I wanted you to talk about that asked whether or not it was a self-esteem issue that got you into that, domestic violence situation. Do you feel that that had anything to do with it? She's frozen like this.
I think she's frozen.
I think she's froze.
Well, the reason why I wanted while she gets it together, the reason why I thought that was a good question is because oftentimes people feel that domestic violence happens to women who have low self-esteem, and that is the way that men prey on women. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because um, domestic violence can happen to anyone, no matter how big you are.
Yeah, I agree with it. It can happen to anyone. I don't know if it's a thing that happens to women that have low self-esteem, but I think sometimes they think that women that stay in those situations are staying because of their self-esteem. And I think there is some truth to that. Because you tell yourself, or you try to, like she was saying, you tell yourself that you can fix the person if you change who you are. If you start doing things differently, maybe that person won't do this to me. You start to take that, you blame yourself for that
For
happening
not
to you,
being
for
being
not
not being the person that they think is
right,
great,
or the
right?
reasons why. Yeah, I've been in a domestic situation. I was in a relationship for 3 years. So, in
Hmm.
that relationship, or it was physical, it was mental. And I think that I've been in several mental abusive relationships, and not necessarily recognizing mental abuse, because a lot of times you don't think it's abuse because we think physical. We don't think mental. So when a man is trying to belittle you or tear you down or to put you in a low place without putting his hands on you, that is abuse.
It is. I
That's
know for
abuse.
me, I never thought of it as abuse either because in my household there was a lot of arguing that went on, right? And so with the arguing came the name calling and all these other negative things that went along
Right.
with it. And for me it was kind of like this undercurrent that you have in a relationship with a man, is that sometimes you're going to have these arguments and they could get real down and dirty. And so I never thought of it as much of abuse because when the argument was over, you'd be right back to yourself,
Yeah.
in that way, back into the
Somebody says what you're
relationship.
used to seeing too. I didn't see abuse in my household. So,
Right.
for
You
me, that's
didn't.
why I didn't see it in my household. So it's not something that I was like, okay, privy to. My mother and father kept their arguments to, I can't even remember. I know they argued, but I couldn't tell you what they were arguing about.
Mm. Let's
So it
bring
wasn't a
Kia
thing where
back on. I see her
yes,
in
bring
the
Kia back in.
stream. Hold on. Hey, girl.
Hey.
Sorry about that. I had to fix my Wi-Fi situation. I didn't hear the
I had brought
question.
up the question before you got disconnected, and we just kind of kept talking about it. About one of the
Oh,
people in the
self-esteem.
chat asked about whether or not it was a self-esteem issue that I think created the scenario, and I wanted you to address that.
So I don't know if it was self-esteem. I think initially me getting with Ernest, um, it was a protection. You guys know I'm an only child, and I was
Hmm.
raised in New York by myself. I don't have any cousins, family members in New York City. All my people are down south, Detroit, Memphis, Chicago, Seattle. I didn't have one other family member besides my mom and dad in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt very alone. If y'all remember, I was bullied as a little girl.
I remember.
Um,
I do remember.
so I left junior high
Sorry,
school
was I one of
early.
them? Because I wasn't that nice.
You weren't one of them to me, thank you.
I was a protector. I
She
used to
was,
protect you.
Michelle was a protector, and Jeff and them, they were my protectors. But yeah, I was bullied. So I feel like I was, maybe looking for someone that could protect me.
Yeah.
And he was a boxer, he's big, he was strong, and I guess, that was part of it for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, but I don't really think it was self esteem. I think we were both some really hustling ass, money getting ass people.
Yeah.
When I met that man, when I met him, I was with Ed Lover at Caroline's Comedy Club in the city, and he was with some little baller dudes at the table. And I just got on the mic for a second to sing some little thing that Ed Lover was making a joke about. And he approached me after the show. And the first date we went out a few days ago, he gave me some uh, fake $20 bills, you know? Like we
Mm.
met on the street. We was about to go to dinner, but we was like on the street and on a little newsstands. And he was like, "You want something from the newsstand?" I was like, "Sure." He gave me a 20. I went and bought something. He was like, "That's all you want? You didn't want something else? You didn't want a drink or whatever?" I was like, "Okay. Well, you want something?" He was like, "Yeah, get me something, something, something." And he gave me another 20. And I was like, "Nah, just let me get the change." And he was like, "Nah." He gave me the next 20. So when it came back again, I was like, "What's going on here? Like, why are you giving me?" He was like,
All these
they
20s.
fake 20s. He was like, "They fake 20s." I was like, "Oh, and you didn't tell me? Like, really? That's crazy." Then I was like, "You got some more?" And so, it was terrible. He was terrible. And I can't even say that I got that way from him because I mean, I was getting money at Red Lobster. Shout out to all the Red Lobster crew. They showed me how to, work the system. I'm gonna say it like that. Work the system. Y'all know I was on 5-year federal probation when I met him for, messing with forged securities and
Mm.
things like that. So yeah, I was a
Get-
hustler, baby. So we have that in common, and you know, chasing money and doing things, questionable things to get money definitely was it wasn't it didn't turn out good. Just and like I said, I was ready to leave that lifestyle alone, and he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So no,
And
I
he
don't
wanted to
think it
keep it
was a
going.
self-esteem, but I was used to living a certain type of way, you know. So
You was balling.
yeah, a little bit, little
Mm-hmm.
bit. We was feeling good. So yeah, I don't think it was too much of a self-esteem issue, but I think that I definitely was embarrassed because I've always been a strong chick. Y'all know me. I graduated high school and went to Japan singing backup for Shaka Khan and Daryl
Right.
Hall from Hall and Oates and just living my best life in the industry. Um, so I wasn't sharing that this verbal abuse was happening later. I didn't talk about that a lot to a lot of people because I was embarrassed and I felt like people would judge me and be like, well, like even after it happened, people would say things like, well, how did you let that happen? And I'm like,
How did you let it
how do you
happen? It
How
let
did
becomes
you let it
normal.
happen? Right.
somebody try to kill you happen? I don't know
And
how
that's
to
the
answer
thing
that.
that went. And like you just said, women don't want to speak up because of embarrassment, because of what people are going to say.
Yeah,
Like it's
And
your
they'll blame
fault.
you.
They're
like
going to
it's your
blame
fault.
you.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And his
And
mom, like I still don't speak to his mother, or she doesn't speak to me. I should say she hasn't spoken to me in 10 years since this happened. Um, I guess she blames me. But, I begged her to come and get him, send somebody to Atlanta to get him, to deal with him. Um, God bless my brother cousin from Memphis, Tennessee. They were actually good friends. And, but he had to be my protector here in Atlanta at times. But he
Mm.
wasn't around that
yeah.
night. He wasn't around that
Wow.
night.
So 10 years later, Kia, how do you feel like it still affects you, or if it does at all?
Absolutely. Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, because it was it's a tragedy, and it
Right.
haunts me. You know,
Absolutely.
the things that I think about that maybe I could have done different. Um, just that night, him beating me with the gun, and I blacked out. And when I blacked out, I really thought that I was dead. In my
Yeah.
mind,
Mm.
I was dead, and I was talking to God, and I was saying, "Okay, Lord, this." He said he was going to kill me, so here I
This
am.
is it.
And it wasn't. So he had thrown his whole body on me. By this time, that man was probably walking around at uh, maybe 250. 250 pounds
Mm-hmm.
easily.
It's a big
So
dude.
he threw his body on me and was just beating me with the gun. And I couldn't get away from him. But he had already been shot, so his blood was pouring out of him, and
Mm.
he eventually started slowing down. But that last major hit where I blacked out, I really thought it was it. But it's like I heard God talking to me saying, "Nah, you okay? You know, just keep struggling. You can, you know, you're gonna be all right."
Right.
And I remember myself saying to God, like, "Are you sure?" Like literally,
Yeah, yeah. Because I
and
don't
I'm
feel
like,
like it. Right.
really,
Kia, it sounds to me like you carry guilt about it. Do you
I
carry
do,
guilt?
of course. That's my son's father, and I
Right.
really did have love for him, and I really didn't want this to happen, but I felt it. I tell you, a year before he died, me still, making my little money. I was in Atlanta, and I was doing a run. I drove this dude from Atlanta to South Carolina somewhere, and I didn't want to know what he had in the bag back there, right? But we happened to get pulled over. I ended up getting locked up for what he had in the bag because I was driving the car, right? And he would not own up to the shit. So I got locked up for a week in South Carolina, and I was hiding from Ernest at this time. He didn't know what address me and my son were living at in Atlanta. We had moved out of this really beautiful apartment into the hood, into the little Spanish hood. If y'all ever come to
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, the Mexicans rule down here in Norcross. Okay, so I was living in this little, you know, community, and I was hiding. I had joined a church in Dunwoody, and this church had actually put up the money for me to move into this apartment, and I was hiding. And my parents called Ernest when I got locked up,
Mm.
Mm.
and
Wow.
that just dropped my heart because I felt like, ooh, this ain't gonna be good, you
Good.
know.
No.
Um, I remember he came to visit me at the jail, and he was had this crazy smile on his face, you know, and he was like, "Ooh, you gonna blow up now? Everybody, all you celebrities, when y'all get locked up, you gonna blow up, you know." Because I had the orange jumpsuit on. He was like, "Damn, I should have had my camera so I could take a picture." And I'm looking at this
Wow.
dude like, "Are
Oh
you?"
wow.
Oh, he
Wow.
was crazy. He was definitely, mentally disturbed in a few ways, probably from the boxing as well as this schizophrenia and or whatever,
Yeah.
bipolar. And I didn't even know about that. I'm just thinking the boxing and just life.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Brooklyn, he's from Bed-Stuy. They have a different type of mentality, y'all know, than we do in
Yes.
Queens. Um, so I felt eerily like, ooh, this is gonna be bad. And I
Yeah.
remember he picked me up from jail and took me back to that apartment. And, of course, I want to wash the jail off me and just sleep, you know. So while I'm trying to get some sleep, he's going through my phone and looking at stuff. And he wakes me up by dragging me out and throwing me against the wall. Who's this nigga in his phone? And blah, 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 all of this stuff. And it was just like, yo, you living your life. You got women. We've been separated for 5 years at this time, you know?
Mm.
And it was like, stop it. But he wanted that control, you know.
Yeah. He had to have it.
He did, and it was bad. It was
How
One
bad.
is
of the
Z?
reasons.
What?
I just want to ask about Z, your son. How was he through all of this?
You know, Zaire, he's amazing. I'm very happy to say he graduated college last year. He went to University of Northern Illinois on a full basketball scholarship, and he graduated with a psychology degree. He decided that he wants to do like mental health for
Mm.
sports for athletes.
I
So
Wow.
love it.
yeah, because
Yes.
a lot more athletes go through this stuff than we know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a common thing, unfortunately. So he's in Vegas, living his best life. Um, you know, oh, it's 9 o'clock. That's your time thing.
No, actually, no, it wasn't even for this.
Uh,
My phone was
Oh,
telling me
okay.
off.
Okay.
No, keep
But
going.
But you know,
one
I
of the
just want to keep
reasons,
going. I don't want to cut this
yeah.
off.
I still wonder if there's some type of pent up rage in him, because of his father and his grandfather who had that
Mm,
issue. And I can say it bothers me a little bit because he bigs up his dad a lot on his social media.
Mm.
And
mm,
it doesn't bother me that he does it. I just don't see him saying a lot about me on
you,
there.
yeah.
Right. That's what I was gonna ask. How's the relationship with your son? Does he put any blame on you?
I don't
Have you
think
ever had
so.
a discussion?
We've had the conversation a few times, not to overdwell. We both had a little bit of therapy when it first happened. But here in Georgia, it was real, nobody that could relate. It was white folks
Yeah.
that didn't get it. So I don't think that really helped either one of us, but just time. And we did talk about it. And I haven't been this vocal until now. Um,
Yeah.
I'm just
Did
feeling
you say
comfortable.
anything to your son before you decided that you were going to use social media as a platform to really reach out to people? Like,
I have.
because I
I've
know it
talked to
affects
him.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him if I told him that I was gonna be doing more things, and he's okay. You
Hmm.
know,
Good. That's
a
good.
lot of things that he doesn't know, all these so many details. So I feel like he's 24 now, so he will
Right.
be able to um understand better as he's getting
Yeah.
older.
As it gets older,
And
absolutely.
I gotta tell my truth. And I think meeting Mia uh 2 Mondays ago, it just did something. Well, I put the post up really more because a mutual friend of all of ours, I'm not gonna say his name because I don't want to embarrass him, but y'all all know him and y'all know that we've always liked each other
Okay.
over the years. So y'all could guess who it is. He said something to me while we were talking, and he said, "Yeah, well, you had to kill him, so it was what it was." And I said, "Well, no, I didn't kill him." And he said, "Well, what you mean? If you didn't kill him, how did he die? Who killed him?" You know? And it was real callous the way he said it.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I mean, he died trying to kill me, is actually what happened." He said, "Oh, well, you're going to need some receipts for that." And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
Mm.
"Oh, shit,
Wow.
really?" And I said,
But
"Well,
that's the way a lot of people feel, though. They really feel that way.
exactly." And so I said, "Well, I've got receipts because I've never been arrested for this situation. Every time he put hands on me, I documented it. I called 911. Either they came to me or I went in and let them take pictures and different things. So when that last incident happened, I was not arrested. They
Hmm.
got my story from me after they sold me up, pumped me up with some type of drugs for the pain. I went to the police precinct. They got my statement and they let me go. And they
Hmm.
actually said that what my statement to them made sense, and what he said before he died in the ambulance corroborated what I was saying.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
said, "Well,
Wow.
what was that?" I said, "Well, what did he say?" And they both looked at each other. These are two cops, Gwinnett County Police, and they said, "Well, ma'am, you don't want to know."
Wow.
They said, "You
Wow.
don't."
Wow.
And I opened my mouth like 3 times to say something else, and something in my brain, the Lord, whatever, said, "Yeah, just get up and walk out.
You
Just,
don't want to know, right?
yeah, go on about your business and just try to piece your life back together." And that's what I did. I was
Wow.
covered in his blood. I thought it was raining. Like when I got out from under his body and ran out of the hotel, I was outside. The sirens were coming. The ambulance was there. There was a guy there trying to get me to sit down on the curb or whatever. And I kept saying, "Well, I don't want to sit in the rain." And I was like,
Wow.
doing like this and doing like this. I was like, "It's raining. I don't want to sit down. Why are you trying to make me sit outside?" He was like, "Ma'am, it's not raining." And I was like, "Oh." And then I looked at my hands and I saw that it was just blood. Like it was literally that much blood all over me. Um,
Wow.
so
This is my
Yeah,
first time hearing the full story. I
it's
mean, I've
crazy.
read things, but this is my first time hearing it from your mouth.
Yeah,
Right,
so
because I never asked.
we're doing a documentary, book, movie, something of this nature, because there's so many other details. Like, I had a cop come to Georgia after he died, asking me about a murder,
Wow.
Mm.
my husband being involved in a
Wow.
murder. So there's a lot of things that I went through with this man. As his wife, I just found out he tried to pay somebody $20,000 to kill me.
Oh my
Whoa.
God.
Hmm.
That's
It
crazy.
it gets
So
deeper and deeper.
it gets
Yeah.
deeper. So does your son actually have a relationship with his dad's family?
Yes,
Is that
somewhat.
relationship tainted?
Somewhat with the uncles. Ernest was the second oldest of 9 children. So
Mm.
he's got seven, eight brothers and sisters. So he's a couple of his uncles are doing life in prison. Um, the family's got a lot of criminal and violent history. Um, Unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
Bed-Stuy breeds a lot of these type of situations. Unfortunately, and
Wow.
Desperation,
yeah,
right?
so
Survival and desperation.
but he does. He has somewhat of a relationship. He doesn't talk to his other grandmother that often, but I know he does. You know, reach out to her, and they speak from time to time. He's in touch with a couple of his uncles. We had one of his uncles living with us at one point when he was young. So
Yeah.
we went through a lot as a family, and I'm just hoping that we can heal. I would love to still be cool with his mother. Me and his mother never had any problems prior to this. So it's really sad. It's really sad. So yeah, I have nightmares still sometimes. Um, and I just get sad
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
because I'm still single, and it's tough.
Yeah, because like I
I
said,
understand.
I never, like I said, they were like the Batman and Robin. When we would see them together, so
Yeah.
it was different, and to me as a couple, I would say they spoke the same language. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
it's really so it was hard for me to really adjust and understand it, but I would never ask about it, because so I know you must be going through a lot even though it's 10 years later. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's like your relationship was just y'all was that couple where if I seen her, it's like it's red. I could see him 2 hours later, it's still gonna be red. That's how they were. So, it's
Yeah,
hard.
definitely.
Well, let me
Definitely.
ask you a question, Key. Do you have, I know, like for me, when I'm after a relationship has been bad and over, I can always look back and say to myself, I know when I should have left, right? Like
Mm.
for me, and obviously not the same type of situation, but do you have that thing in your head where you say to yourself, it was a summer night, and he did X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z, and if I had a left then,
Right.
I
right, it
mean,
would have
yeah, like I
changed the
said,
course of my life. Like that
I mean, I
one thing,
did.
like, and you go, ooh, I wasn't paying attention.
Well, I did leave. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I said that scenario of me getting locked up and him being the one to come and get me after we were in hiding, I believe that turned it.
Because she
Mm.
was
That
already
turned it.
gone at that point. You were
I
already
was
gone.
already gone. Me and Zaire were in hiding. Zaire was still really young. He was maybe like 11, 12 at this time. So we were, I feel like if maybe I hadn't gotten locked up, or if my parents hadn't called him to come and deal with it, I feel like now, like I would have rather have stayed in longer
Yeah.
in
Mm.
jail
Right.
and then handled it myself, so that he would not have to know where we were living at this time and would not have been around me. I think that played a huge part. Um,
Did your
but it
parents
wasn't
know the
on me.
severity?
It's stalker, huh?
Did your parents know the severity of the
You know,
relationship?
they knew what I was telling them. I definitely told my mom, like, why would you call him? Like, we're literally hiding from him. He does not have our address.
Right.
So I wouldn't want him to come get me. She was like, well, who else was I going to call? And that's his son. And, my parents are old
Mm.
school and
Yeah.
they're not
Hmm.
from New York City. They are from the South. So
Right.
they're not understanding the levels of the domestic violence and the levels of just the violence, period, that goes on in New York City, that goes on in Brooklyn.
Right.
You know what I mean? Had either one
Yeah.
of them maybe been from New York, they might not have reacted like that. You know what I mean? I think they
Yeah.
just didn't know. And I don't blame
Because
them.
you
And
never
I
think
believe
that this
that was
man is
the,
going to do something that horrible, right? Because you
I
know
did.
people. It
I
feels,
did.
I mean,
I knew
right.
it.
But I mean,
But
But
your
they
she
didn't.
knew.
parents,
She knew.
Yeah, they didn't.
you did, but your parents would say, he loves her. No matter how much they
I mean,
fight,
they
he's
knew.
never going to do anything to really harm you.
Uh, I mean, at this point, he had put hands on me before, right? And we were running and hiding from him, living, you know, um, somewhere where he didn't know. But yeah, in their mind, it probably would never get to this level. They
Hmm.
would not think that. My parents don't know nothing about having guns, and you know,
Right.
they that's not their life. That's not their life. So they
Right. So they would had no idea. They thought they were helping. Honestly, they probably thought they
yeah,
were
they
helping.
figured that's his son. Who else is gonna go and deal with his son while I'm locked up, which
Right.
was probably correct on that level. But I would have rather at this point now knowing, I definitely would have rather let Z go with a friend because we had friends that he probably
Right.
could have stayed with in the neighborhood or from high school, from his junior high school that he was in, and
Hmm.
he could have stayed with them until one of my parents could have gotten to Atlanta. Um, you know, so yeah,
Yeah.
I really feel that was the pivotal point. Um,
Mm.
Right.
yeah, unfortunately, it's just it's sad. That's why they call it a tragedy, because
It
and
is
Yeah.
and
definitely a tragedy. A
something like this,
tragedy.
you never get over it. And you know, it took me a long time to meet a man that I would even try to claim. I just met someone about a year ago, and it's still very slow roll. He lives in Virginia
Yeah.
Beach. I lived there for a minute, but we didn't live together. We taking our time. But he's a sweetheart of a man.
Hmm.
How
Very.
is he
Well,
even how like even with dating him, like how is the situation? Like is he aware of the situation? Do y'all
Oh yeah,
communicate about it? And what
absolutely.
is his perspective from the situation?
I mean, he's sorry that I went through that. He's a very nurturing man, a very understanding, uh, healing type of man. He's had his own demons and dealt with his own uh, um, depression issues.
Okay.
So he has
okay.
empathy from a few levels.
Hmm.
He's been married a couple of times. He has a bunch of kids. Got 7 children. So
7.
7. Yes, yes. That's why I said we
So
slow rolling it.
you like, hold on. Kids like, wait,
Seven.
I don't know if I want to get into that, but okay.
I mean, so
It
he's
is what it
sweet.
is.
He's a sweetheart, but at this point in our lives, because he's still got a lot of responsibilities. He has a young daughter who's I think 11, 12. So he's
Ooh.
still at that
Yes.
At that
point.
stage.
He
So we're
still got to
not
be daddy.
exactly, yeah, so
Hmm.
we're not exactly in the same places in our lives. But I thank the Lord for meeting him, because I literally have talked to him every single day since the day we met last
Wow.
Mm.
Monday. We talk
That's
every
dope.
day. He's a truck driver,
That's
so
dope.
he's over the road.
He's on the
He
road,
Right.
yeah.
drives a truck for Walmart, so he's a sweetheart.
Yeah,
So let
he
me,
on
I
that
gotta,
note, one second. On that note, he's gotta be because when you're busy and you can really take the time out and have a conversation every day,
Yeah,
yeah, he's a good guy. He's
yeah,
really a
we
good,
Hmm.
he's a good guy.
good guy.
So if you could speak to a woman or women that are in a domestic situation, what would you tell them?
I would just tell them to read the signs, and like I said, look at it like your life is in danger. If somebody's telling you they will kill you, believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take that like, oh, he's just talking or whatever. I would say to ladies and gentlemen, don't all of the when people like to go through your phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people are trying to tell you how to dress, all of these different things. These are red flags.
Isolating you
Absolutely.
from your
These are
friends.
red flags.
Absolutely.
That is something that Ernest did too. He isolated. He knew that I was an only child, and I didn't have a lot of people, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
I would even call on because I was very proud. I wouldn't have told a whole lot of people what was going on. He knew that, and he took
Mm-hmm.
advantage of that. But I would tell ladies and gentlemen, it's not cute for somebody to want to go through your phone, your mail, this and that and the third. Um, it's okay to have some privacy in a relationship. Somebody wanting to go through your phone and confront you about every guy that reacts to your social media and things like this. That's not love. That's
Mm-hmm.
control. You
It's
know,
control.
and know the difference. Somebody that loves you should trust you, and somebody that you love
Respect
you
you.
should trust and
Absolutely.
respect. And he's a boxer, famous boxer. I'm a famous singer, songwriter. We both out here in the world. You know,
Right.
how dare you be jealous of you know people, fans?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
because
what
you're
I mean?
interacting with a bunch of people all the time. So that's
Yeah.
crazy.
And then even people that are not into that, it's still not cool. So don't think that that's love. I think a lot of people have it twisted, and they say, well, he does that because he loved me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
You
Martin
hear
made the
that all the
joke.
time.
Martin made the joke about the man showing up at the club with the slippers on, going
Right.
to get his chick or whatever. But that's too much.
But
You
women
know,
thought that
Yeah.
was cute, though. They thought that
they
was
thought it
cute.
was cute. There was a time when I was trying to co-parent with Ernest after we were separated, and I moved out of Nikki's house. I moved in with my mom in Virginia, and the house next door to her became available. So I moved into this house, and I let him come, hoping that we could co-parent, right? Hoping that we could maybe try to talk about something to get back to something that was normal. And I had a meeting. It was at night, but it wasn't that late, but it was a meeting. And this man put a recorder in my purse to record the
Mm.
Wow.
meeting. And of course, I'm not stupid. I saw the recorder way before I even got to the meeting. So I turned it off, had my meeting, came back home. When I come home, he's like, hey, how was everything? I'm like, good. He's like, reaching for my purse. And I'm like, what's up? Oh, no, I wanted something. I was like, oh, here, what, this? And I gave him the recorder.
Yeah. Hmm.
And he's
Hmm.
like, push and play. Oh, nothing's on there. I was like, yeah, I turned it off. Oh, how you gonna turn it off? Cause I'm not your child, yo. We're not
Mm.
gonna control. No,
Right.
we're not. But that turned into a whole thing where he tried to smother me. He raped me that night. You know what I mean? So it was a lot, man. Over the years, it was a lot. It was a
Yeah.
lot.
When you and for anyone in a domestic situation, when you leave, stay gone. Because like you
That
said,
part.
we come back. They come
That
back.
coming back,
Stay gone.
always thinking
Stay
that you can fix it, thinking that at least you could co-parent, thinking that
right.
thinking logically when a person is completely illogical.
Right.
That was my mistake.
And thinking you
Always
could
trying to
control
fix
the
it.
narrative, right? Because that's
Yeah,
part of it. Is like, I can talk to him, I can keep him calm, I can make the situation work for the betterment of, me not having to hide, my son
The
being able to
child.
have a relationship
exactly,
with his father. You
exactly.
think you could control the narrative, right?
Right.
And
You think you could fix
unfortunately,
it?
we don't know how far someone would go, right? Because there are
True.
some women, like you said, Kia, that you documented the abuse every single time. There are
Yeah.
women that have orders of protection out. They got, police watch. They got all kind of things going on trying
Hmm.
to control the narrative. And
Mm-hmm.
still women get killed in many of these situations. Like,
It's
it
true.
could have been a whole different story for you.
Absolutely.
And
So
women that protect themselves end up going to jail as well.
Yes.
So I know that I
Right.
was lucky that my scenario was not like that. You know,
mhm.
um, me having the documentation, the receipts, as that person
As they
said,
call it, right?
helped my situation not be the worst that it could be. But just think, the wrong cop,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
and you know,
The wrong law
Absolutely.
enforcement that felt some other type of way. Um,
yeah,
That
you
say
know,
things to
could
you
have
like,
gone.
what did you do?
Yeah. I mean, there was
Right.
a time when we had a thing in St. Louis when he jumped out from under the bed. He had came to visit from, I guess, New York or Memphis. Oh, Memphis. And, I smoked weed most of my life, and he had brought me some weed. And when I called the police on him, he told them, yeah, she got a pound of weed in there. And, she's a queen pin, and she be selling drugs and all of that.
wow,
Wow.
They
Wow.
literally arrested me. They arrested me, those police in St. Louis. And I had a
Wow.
case for a year until they threw that out. I had to go back and forth from Virginia to St. Louis to fight that case. And he didn't care whether our son was going to have to be in a damn, you know, child
Yeah.
welfare, foster care or something. Like, he was just so, when people get on that, they don't care, you
They
know?
don't
yeah,
care.
that's
That's what it
funny that
was. Hmm.
you say the opening things. I remember, when I was in a relationship and we had a fight, not even a fight, we had an argument, and I threw shoe down the stairs and said, I can't take this, and I left. She was angry and called the cops. They came knocking on my door. Domestic violence is very serious, and when they broke everything down to me, they said that this is only the beginning, that you don't know where this can lead to.
Facts.
Now
And that's true.
because I'm sitting there like, are you serious? And it was crazy because I actually had to go through this system about
Mm.
this, and it was an angry situation because the DA and them, they want to put felony charges on you, and eventually it gets thrown out, but all of that is
Right.
done into prevention to prevent situations like this from happening. So you're right, the paper trail is really, really
It's
it.
super important.
It
But
helps.
it is super important though. But I never thought back then. Looking at it now I understand it. Because
Right.
it's stuff that starts early.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, that's why programs like you mentioned, that organization, Whole Life Healing, to me, which
Exactly.
is one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on this show, was one, to just have the discussion, right? There are so
Yeah.
many women that are in situations and don't know how to get out of it, need help and need to be able to have the conversation beyond my pride, right? Because
Yes.
putting that aside, you can jump out of a situation much sooner
Yes.
than not wanting to tell people because you're embarrassed and so forth. And then with organizations like the one you're working with, having the ability to have support in that, like just somebody that really gets it. And I think that's one of the things that's appealing to me about that program.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to go and donate, the website is
Center.
wholelifehealingcenter.org.
Yes.
So
Yes.
go check out the website, donate. They can donate through the
Please.
website, correct?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
yeah, definitely donate. We're actually, our next event is a young man. They asked him what he wanted for his birthday. I think he's turning 11, 10 or 11. And he said he wanted to feed the homeless and feed people
Mm.
Wow.
that are hungry.
Oh,
So that's what we're doing. We're setting up a whole thing for him. So, shout out to Mia Miranda is her name. Follow her on Facebook, and a Whole Life Healing Center on Instagram. Of course, I'm Kia Jeffries one on Instagram, Kia Jeffries Mateen on Facebook. And I appreciate talking to y'all because, like I said, it was somebody from our hood that was saying that, and that's what made me
Mm-hmm.
put that post up,
right,
so that people can just stop it with the judging and with the assuming and with the callousness. We have to be
right,
Right.
empathetic to each other about the things that we've going through. I'm not the only person that went through something like that, right?
right.
So, I don't want to judge anyone, and I don't want anyone judging me, you know. And it's very important because I've lost gigs because of what, when you Google me, that's what's said. You know, I feel
Right.
Mm,
like my
Right.
career,
Wow.
I feel like
Definitely.
my career has been stunted because of this whole situation. I was on a roll. Y'all know it.
Yeah.
Y'all
Mm-hmm.
But,
know I was on
but
a roll.
do you think that if you would have talked about it earlier, because I've never known you to really, really come forward and really tell your story. It's always been what somebody else assumed.
Right.
You think that maybe you should have took this platform at an earlier stage in your career?
Um, I mean, I had to do what felt right. I didn't feel comfortable enough, strong enough, safe enough,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Also, I thought about my child and how it would affect him. And I
Right.
didn't want to do this, like I feel like, my job is done. Like he didn't graduated college and
mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So I feel like, my mama thing is done, And not that I
Right.
was still doing my career thing, but um I don't know. I just had to feel safe.
Yeah, I
In your
think this
own
is
time.
amazing. And you're
Yeah.
right. I think healing is gonna be forever. Honestly, you're gonna be healing from
Absolutely.
this forever.
Absolutely. And I'm still out here and I'm still doing work and, bringing up next artists as well as doing stuff myself. So, my chapter's not finished. I'm still out
Of
here doing
course
what I
not.
do, working it
Of
out.
course not. Talk about the don't you have a podcast as well? The collab show.
The collab
Talk
show.
about
We
that a little bit before
show.
we wrap this up
Yeah,
because we done way over time with you,
I
girl.
know. I
Yes,
know.
but you know what?
Yeah,
it was necessary though, because this is
It
a
it was
is.
message that it needs to
necessary.
get out.
It was
Absolutely.
necessary. I got another thing I gotta do too. I gotta jump off. But yes, the collab show on Wu Tang Radio. We do have an app, and I'm also on a few other networks as well. So the collab show is just me. I'm having fun and I'm showing you guys the younger people and the older people. I'm showing the younger people how their music ain't really nothing new. That we've been there, done that.
Right.
That's so true.
But then I'm showing our age and older, like, listen, some of this new music is some good shit. Because I hear a lot of
Okay.
people like Chuck Chill Out and different DJs and different
Nice.
people in our age group that's like, that new music is bullshit. And I'm like, nah,
They
there's
always say that.
good new music. There's some really great. So I kind of bridging that gap. So yeah, it's a fun show. So I'm gonna
Okay.
start. I have a episode out now that I put on my Facebook. You can click it and listen to it on SoundCloud because that's
Mm-hmm.
where I'm storing them and sharing them, and you
Okay.
can check it out. So I appreciate y'all.
Oh, we appreciate you so much. I don't know how we lost Shell, but
Oh,
girl, thank you for coming on and sharing your story. I hope that this show really touches somebody and gives them the
yeah,
ability to have the strength to leave a bad situation or
yes,
seek the help that they need, right? Because that's
and
really what
reach
this is
out.
really about.
And also we are my family has a family business, hey Michelle, called ABS Communications. It is a telephone answering service, and
Okay.
we are open 24 hours a day, 365. We're always looking for people to hire, so hit me up. And
Okay.
we are also looking for businesses to answer the phone. We are American based, so we speak English. Okay, you understand? That is a big
I
deal.
love it. It is a big
Okay,
deal.
that's a big deal
It is a big deal.
because I get
All
out
right.
here talking to the foreigners and I don't know what they saying. They don't know what I'm saying. I'm like, what? So yeah, it's a good
It's so
Well,
business. So
true.
yeah,
thank
I'm out here
you.
working, moving and shaking. Collab
Love
show.
it.
Look for the documentary called "I Did Not Kill My Husband." The movie,
Mm-hmm.
the book, the documentary. Get into more details and definitely look for this new music. I have a song called "Cry No More" that I'm gonna be putting out soon, and this is gonna be like a commercial for the Whole Life Healing Center as well. So again, shout out
Okay.
to me and Miranda, and thank you everybody that came
Make
out.
sure you let
Yes,
us know how we can
You
support at any point in
absolutely.
time.
yes, appreciate it.
Okay?
Appreciate
Absolutely.
your donations. Y'all can send in a little money,
Yes,
Yes.
and I'm
Absolutely.
absolutely.
definitely and anybody that needs help in the situation, you could definitely send in my way. All right,
Okay. Thank you,
All
okay.
Kia.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
Thank
for
much,
coming
y'all.
Kia.
on.
Much
Love
All
y'all.
love.
right. Love you too. Take care,
Mwah.
sis.
Love you.
All right.
That was
Well, that
great.
show needed
Wow,
the
that was
extra
deep.
That
time.
extra time, if we
That
needed
was
that
Yeah.
deep.
extra time. For sure. And I'm not mad that we went over, because
Mhm.
normally I'd be sweating like we almost 9 o'clock, y'all.
You know,
But
the finals is on. I'm like, oh man, you know, but this is really, really worth it.
it was like we couldn't cut her off because that story was too compelling, and somebody out there is listening to this, so they needed to hear this story. And but if anybody is going through it, male or female, you can, there's a domestic violence hotline that you can call. If you don't know what to do, how to get out of your situation, call the domestic violence hotline 800-799-7233, and make sure y'all go check out the wholelifehealingcenter.org. Donate, check out to see what they got going on to help those that are dealing with domestic violence. But as you guys know, we end every show with a quote. And that quote is, never forget that walking away from something unhealthy is brave, even if you stumble a little on your way out the door.
I like that.
We will see you guys next week.
See you
Peace
next
and
week,
love.
guys. Thank you.
Hey.
I'm Team Remy's on DJ Big Rock. As we bring down the Cabo Experience 2022, I'm bringing talent, I'm bringing stiletto, I'm bringing Kenny Williams, I'm bringing DJ Warren, DJ Zah, DJ Storm, DJ K-Dog, and Uptown Zone, Jeff Frank. For more info, go to www.theteamremy.com and you're drawing, hold up. Go to www.theteamremy.com as we bring you all around. 5 days, 4 nights, opening party in the sky, Shake Your Day Pool Party, Madness Party featuring Jeff Brand, All White Bon Voyage Comedy Show, special performance by RL. Yes, Big Rock's gonna be on that day, and I'm bringing my cousins with me. Conversation with my cousins gonna be live in Cabo.